Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. To everyone here who has joined us, welcome. Good morning to our speaker for today, Encik Riwayat Mansor. I'm Lawrence Kong. It's my pleasure to be a moderator for the session today. Now, this is the 40th in the Competitiveness Talk web webinar series, focusing on Malaysia Global Competitiveness Ranking. Country competitiveness is critical to us because it refers to the ability of the government to generate prosperity. High level of competitiveness implies that countries with high levels of competitiveness can better manage economic and human capacities. Now, a private academic institution based in Switzerland and now in Singapore as well, called IMD, short for International Institute for Management Development, evaluates and reports this country competitiveness every year since 1989. Now, in their annual report called World Competitiveness Yearbook, it benchmarks the performance of 63 countries based on more than 255 criteria, measuring different dimensions of competitiveness. It uses two types of data to compare countries. Two-thirds of it is hard statistical data, which they collected from country sources, and one-third of it is from survey data, like opinion survey from representatives from different industries in countries. Now, this year, in the World Competitiveness Yearbook 2020, Malaysia's competitiveness ranking has dropped 5 positions since last year to 27 this year. Now, 27 position in 63 countries. This is the lowest of Malaysia ranking in the past 5 years. Yeah, so the higher the position in the competitiveness ranking, the better a country's competitiveness. Now, there are 4 broad factors. These 63 countries have been compared. The factors are economic performance, government efficiency, business efficiency, and infrastructure. Now, today, we are very honored to have Encik Riwayat sharing this topic with us on overall productivity. Overall productivity is a criterion measured under the productivity and efficiency, a sub-factor in the business efficiency factor. Overall productivity relates to our labor productivity. I'm sure Encik Riwayat will fill in on that later. Encik Riwayat will be sharing with us the highlights and causes of overall productivity in Malaysia. He will then recommend improvements to help Malaysia increase our future competitiveness. Now, let me first introduce our speaker. Engineer Riwayat, or IR Riwayat, is a MPC Associate since 2013. He is now the Managing Director of Andal Group, M&E Engineering Consultancy, and Corporate Management Consultancy. For nearly 30 years, he has enormous experience serving reputable multinational corporations. Now, in the last 15 years of his career, he has held senior leadership positions as a vice president and general manager. He has worked with many organizations in the United States and China for extended period of time. He also managed the global operations for a large multinational organization. His expertise includes business and corporate management, and he is very familiar with Lean Six Sigma and total quality management. In strategic management, business process engineering, performance management, just to quote a few. Academically, Engineer Riwayat earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering from Boston University, Massachusetts, in the USA. He also holds a Master's in Business Administration degree from University Utara Malaysia, UUM. He is currently pursuing his PhD in organizational development. Let me hand over the audio to Engineer Riwayat Mansor. Over to you, Engineer Riwayat.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Lawrence Kong.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam and greetings to all the audience and participants in this webinar. First of all, thank you MPC for inviting me to this webinar to share a very important topic to our nation, or to many nations actually, to many economies in the world. The title of this webinar, as mentioned by Mr. Lawrence Kong, is overall productivity. There will be another session actually with regards to similar topic with some little twist to it. Is called labor productivity. That is going to be held in 2 days time on Thursday at 2:30 p.m. So today the focus is on overall productivity. I'll go through in a bit more detail afterward. So what constitutes overall productivity, and actually this webinar is I'm trying to move the slide, just a moment, okay. This webinar actually is a follow-on to the study that was done recently by Associates of MPC on Malaysia's competitiveness ranking. The one in particular, overall productivity, the study was done by me, and I will explain on this overall productivity to all of you, what it means, and what are the elements that's what do we call influencing this overall productivity, what are the analysis that what we have done going forward, what is recommended for Malaysia to be done in order to increase the ranking of our competitiveness, especially on the overall productivity and generally for the competitiveness as a whole in general. I will briefly explain on this ranking in the WCY, or World Competitiveness Yearbook, published by the International Institute of Management Development. This is done on annual basis. So like what Mr. Lawrence was saying just now, there are about 254, or maybe they have added to 255 elements that's being measured, and overall productivity is one of them. So what is the purpose of this the study that was conducted? Okay, the purpose is basically to highlight our current ranking for the overall productivity in WCY, done by IMD, and then to analyze the reasons or the drivers excuse me, that have determined the current position, and then to continue to recommend initiatives that can help Malaysia to improve on its current ranking on this indicator, and consequently its overall comparative ranking. A brief information on the WCY. Mr. Lawrence has mentioned a bit about this. There are four main factors that is being assessed or examined by IMD and reported in the WCY. The factors, the four main factors are economic performance, government efficiency, business efficiency, and infrastructure. I boxed up the business efficiency. This is the area that we'll be talking about, and specifically the one that I boxed in red, productivity and efficiency. This is where overall productivity is placed. The number of elements: economic performance 46, government efficiency 60, business efficiency another 64, and infrastructure 84. So the total number of elements assessed, like I mentioned just now, is 254. And you can see on the left of the screen the numbers 24, 22, 22, and 27. These are the ranking of Malaysia as far as the competitiveness is concerned from 2017 to 2020. The higher the number, the worse it is. So we want to get a lower number. Number one is the best, and the higher number is getting worse and worse. Okay, so you could see, I just want to focus on business efficiency. You see in the box, what I box in blue, in dotted blue line, on the business efficiency, how the position or the ranking has dropped in the sense of the performance, not the numbers, but drop in terms of performance. Like I said, the higher the number, the worse it becomes. So for business efficiency alone, for the year of 2020, we were at number 29. Overall, we were at 27, but business efficiency, when we take a look at the business efficiency factor, we were at 29, number 29. But going to a sub-factor of productivity and efficiency, we were at number 32. So getting worse by the year. 2017 at 22. 2018 24, 2019 25, and 2020 at 32. So I'll be focusing on this. So this under productivity and efficiency, item 3.1.01 is overall productivity, and this is basically an estimate of GDP. GDP, I'll go through what is GDP, PPP, and all that. Yeah, but the way that is measured is the estimate of GDP, PPP per person employed in US dollars. Okay. So we will be discussing about this. 3.1.03. If you look at the in the slide, labor productivity. This one is GDP, PPP per person employed per hour. This one we'll be discussing this on Thursday at 2:30 p.m. God willing, inshallah. Yeah. Okay. So we'll go through the definition of the overall productivity. Overall productivity is basically a measure of GDP, PPP, which is gross domestic product, considering purchasing power parity per person employed. Okay, it is GDP PPP divided by total employment or in the economy of Malaysia. So what is PPP? Why PPP is being used? Okay, GDP, I think many of us know about what GDP is, but I just want to maybe explain a bit about PPP, the acronym for Purchasing Power Parity. So this is this GDP PPP is basically a GDP converted. So this one was used in 2017 using constant international dollars using PPP rate. So this is basically a GDP converted to international dollars using purchasing power parity rates. Yeah. The reason why PPP is used, it is to normalize the GDP for different currencies. Different country will have different currencies, and so this PPP, the intent is to normalize the different currencies so that comparison can be done more meaningfully. Otherwise, different currency will, have different GDP, and when you try to compare one to another, then you basically cannot compare because the rate or the exchange rate is different. Yeah. So the source of this overall productivity actually is derived from ILO, International Labour Organization database. So for the 2020, this is the data is actually retrieved in March 2020. So how is this being computed? The indicator on labor productivity, or rather this one is overall productivity, is calculated based on GDP at constant price, which is the PPP, divided by the number of employed person of the nation. Okay. So okay, in this slide, the next slide here, this shows the business efficiency ranking for the past 10 years. So we have been below 30. Is this bad? Yeah, of course, this is bad. If you look at there are many sub-elements there, but you look the one that I highlighted in red, overall productivity, PPP. 2011 we were at 42. I won't read through line by line, but you can see for the past 10 years, the overall productivity PPP was hovering between 38 and 43. The recent rank, which is on the in the year of 2020, we were positioned at number 40. Number 40 from 63 countries or 63 economies, which is bad. It's below average. So you can see how dismal our performance is as far as overall productivity is concerned. So the next slide, this is the table I extracted from the Conference Board of Total Economy Database. This will show the output, the labor productivity from actually the report from 1950s to 2019, but I've truncated it down to 2014 to 2019. So you can see the GDP, you can see the employment, the number of employed person in Malaysia, and also the output per employed person. So the output per employed person, this is the labor productivity per person employed, yeah, per person employed. It's not the hours work yet. So they term it labor productivity, but this is in the IMD report in WCY, this is called overall productivity. So sometimes the what do you call nomenclature could be a bit confusing, but for the purpose and intent of this webinar, I'll be focusing only on the overall productivity. Yeah. All right. So if you look at the indicator here, this is this chart is basically extracted from the MPC annual productivity report. You can access this online in the MPC on the MPC web, yeah. And this is I got this for the 2019. You could see on the right on the graph there, you could see the one in blue column. The one in blue column shows the labor productivity by employment. It has been increasing from 84,000 to the 86,000, 90,000, 92, 93. So it has been increasing. Don't doubt about it. Labor productivity by employment has been increasing. However, if you look at the labor productivity growth, the one in green, so you can see 2016 it was 3.1, and then 2017 is 3.8, and the government of Malaysia in 2017 has targeted it to be 3.8. Going forward, I'll share a bit when they launched the Malaysia Productivity Blueprint in 2017. However, 2018 has dropped to 2.4, and 2019 dropped further to 2.1. So the growth dropped. The net increase is there. You can see the net increase. But as far as the percentage of increment or labor productive growth, it has been declining. So that is not a good, what do you call, a sign, yeah, for Malaysia. The graph, the bar graph on the left is basically to show you the respective position of Malaysia against other countries. You can see Malaysia is way behind Singapore, US, Hong Kong, Australia, UK, and stuff like that. So, and those countries, and we have a long way to go. Yeah. So more recent news as far as the overall productivity is concerned. This is reported in Bernama from DOSM, Department of Statistics of Malaysia. This data is obtained from them, but it's reported in Bernama. bernama News on 17th of August 2020. This is for quarter 2 2020 productivity. You can see that Malaysia's labor productivity per person employed shrank by 16%. I won't go into details, but I just want to highlight what the report says. Yeah, the hours work plunging from 6.2 billion. Previously was averaging 8.5 billion hours. Value added per employment dropped. Malaysia GDP contracted 17%. Employment declined by 1.3%. Yeah. So you can see the sluggish performance of labor productivity by value added per employment followed the retention of employees. However, they have their employment, but they were on furlough. They cannot go to work. So the negative progress in all front. It's negative progress in all front as far as the productivity is concerned. Okay, this slide will show the key authorities for the productivity in Malaysia. You can see, of course, Malaysia Productivity Corporation, or MPC. This is the government-mandated body that facilitates the productivity growth, promoting good regulatory practice to reduce unnecessary burden, act as DMO to coordinate monitor efforts to productive growth and stuff like that. Yeah. EPU, Economic Planning Unit, is another agency. And they are, as far as the Malaysia Productivity Blueprint is concerned, they are the advisory and policy support agency. Yeah, MITI, of course. Yeah, Malaysia Productivity Blueprint owner of Delivery Management Office, Ministry of Home Affairs. This one I put it there because I'll be talking more on the foreign worker afterward. A few more graphs. I know it's going to be very dry, graphs, numbers, tables, charts, and stuff like that. But this is what this topic is all about. It's going to be very dry, but hopefully you can get some information out of this. Yeah. Another one is Bank Negara Malaysia. Yep. To promote monetary and also financial stability and stuff like that. Yeah. And also MOHR for the human capital. To provide the competency and to fulfill the demand of Malaysian economy. Okay, some analysis on overall productivity. From 1966 to 2019, Malaysia has experienced quite a reasonably good economic growth, averaging real GDP growth of 6.2% per year. So that's good. However, the concern is productivity growth has eroded over the recent years. I've shown you the graph just now. I'll show you the 10-year period, how it has been performing. So productivity growth has been eroding. Yeah. So capital-driven economy should attain higher productivity growth. We should know about this. I will in the next few slides, probably you will see the capital productivity, the labor productivity, how that's divided, and also the multi-factor productivity, or some people call it total factor productivity, how that is apportioned out and all that. And so with just a bit more, I'll share that with you. And for all this, according to Bank Negara, why this productivity growth eroded includes these factors. Yeah, low level of capital stock. Yeah, low level of capital stock for the whole country, and Malaysia has been relying on cheap foreign labor, the low skill cheap foreign labor. I'll cover in a bit more detail with graphs and all that later on. High concentration of capital stock in Malaysia's public sector versus private sector. This is interesting. General decline in quality investment, and also lack of economic complexity. So this has been listed down by Bank Negara. and these are the culprits for the erosion of the productivity growth, yeah, based on the study done by Bank Negara. And if you look at the further analysis, I mentioned earlier about if you look on the far right, there's a table there before you go into the graphs, the bar graphs. On the far right, I just want to give you the breakdown of the different productivity. One is capital productivity, the other one is multi-factor productivity, the other one is labor productivity. 2018 to 2019. So the past decade, actually, this one I put down 2018, 2019, but for the past 10, 20 years, actually the labor market, or rather the labor growth, or rather the economic growth was actually supported by the labor growth. Is this good? Good and bad. When it comes to productivity, overall productivity, it might not be so helpful for us. Yeah, but you can see in recent years, I have 2 years here, 2018, 2019. Both capital and also MFP has overtaken the labor the labor growth. The labor growth stagnated at 18%, less than 20%, less than a fifth, and the others 80% is taken up by the capital and also MFP. But the prediction says that the MFP is likely to contribute more to Malaysia's GDP growth. Yeah. So having said all that, the investment must continue to increase in the use of technology for productivity gain, better organizational management, human capital development, business-friendly regulations. You will be able to see this later on in the Malaysia Productivity Blueprint. But I just want to allude you to say that these are the important factors. On the graph, you can see the GDP. These are talking about growth, percentage of growth from 2016, 17, 18, and 19. You can see the GDP growth 4.5%, 5.8%, 4.8, 4.3%. From 2016 to 2019. Capital, however, the growth of capital is reducing from 2.9, 2.9, 2.8, and 1.2, which is not so good. Yeah, but you're talking about employment. Employment increase, but employment, we want to see the quality of employment as well. The high skill labor. So that will be discussed also afterward. Yeah. So and on the right of the growth percentage, this is the contribution to the GDP. I'm not going to go into detail of all this, yeah, but you can see the shift. The capital, what do you call, has it's actually the MFP has increased, the capital reduced, depending on what year you see, yeah. So, but labor has been at the 18%, yeah. Labor has been at 18%. Now, coming to the labor, foreign labor, yeah. If you see, this study was done by Bank Negara Malaysia, so I accept this from Bank Negara Malaysia study, the report that was published, so I accept from there. The comparison, on the left, Malaysia migrant to population ratio is higher than most of its regional peers. You can see on the left of Malaysia, New Zealand, Brunei, Australia, Hong Kong, Singapore, and these countries, these are they have total migrant to population higher than Malaysia, but this includes all the skilled labor and the non-skilled labor, but they have more skilled labor. But Malaysia, on the other hand, we have high migrant workers compared to our population, which is 8.8%, close to 10%, 8.8%. But mainly they are low skilled labor. Yeah, low-skilled labor. So chart number 2 on the right, so you can see Malaysia has some initiative to reduce the dependent on the labor force, the foreign labor force. You can see there's a downward trend, but it's still not enough. As of 2017, it was still at 12%. You can see the early 2000 in the early 2000, it has gone up to close to 20%. Yeah, close to 20% as far as the foreign worker share of labor force. Yeah. But that's not good enough. You can see here the chart number 3, share of foreigners to employment by sector. This figure was in 2016, not too long ago, 3-4 years ago. It says here foreigners take up more than a fifth, which is more than 20% of employment in agriculture, construction, and manufacturing. You can see agriculture 37%, almost 40%. Construction 22%, manufacturing 21%. So more than a fifth in this sector. These are the foreigners, yeah. And chart number 8, you can see how inversely proportional between the productivity level and also the share of foreigners percentage. You can see in the agriculture, the productivity level is low. Construction and manufacturing, they are low in productivity level. And this actually where the foreigners is more than 20 to 30%. Yeah. Okay. So what this chart shows is the higher the share of foreigners in that particular sector, the lower the productivity ranking or other percentage for not percentage, the level of productivity in that particular sector. Looking further, if you look further, the chart on the left says that an increasing share of net job creation is taken up by low-skilled workers in recent period. So high-skilled workers is shrinking. Yeah, mid-skill stays the same, but low-skill double from 8% to 16%. And so chart on the right, share of job creation by citizenship. You can see local has been reducing in the past 2 years. That means what year was that? I can't remember what year. 18 and 19. You can see the last share of net job created went to foreigners. You can see the one in black, yeah, chart on the right. The one in black are locals, and the one in gray are foreigners. So the job created for the past 2 years went to who? To foreigners. Local participation has been shrinking up to less than 20%, and foreigners took up more than 80% of the job created. Yeah, this is from the source is from Department of Statistics Malaysia. This was published in the study done by the Bank Negara of Malaysia. Okay. Okay, I'm not going to go into the robot density and all that. So chart number 10, the approach to managing foreign workers. So you can see on the right here, market-driven demand management instrument, principle for foreign worker policy. There's a parity. We need to narrow the gap, the wage gap between foreign workers and locals and stuff like that. So who will benefit? Of course, the foreign workers. Either way you do it, the foreign workers will be benefiting on this. Yeah. So let's shift to a more the success story of Korea. This is analysis done. I accept this from IMF report, and so go to the next slide. Yeah, easy for you to see, and you can see how the total factor productivity, or it's also known as multi-factor productivity, just minus the capital and labor, then it become the multi-factor productivity. And you can see in Korea how it has been increasing. Yeah, their total factor productivity has been increasing. So what they did reforms on the corporate and also banking system restructuring. So extensive restructuring was done. They did labor training in the export-oriented sectors and stuff like that. Yeah, just to increase the productivity. This is just to show how the productivity growth for the first generation reform. So okay, coming back to Malaysia. Analysis has also been done. Yeah, analysis has also been done. This one I get it from Malaysia Productivity Blueprint. This blueprint actually was launched by government of Malaysia in May, to be exact, I think 8th of May in 2017 by the government of Malaysia. And the government of Malaysia has set a minimum target to achieve annual productivity growth of 3.7%. From 3.8%, should be, but it dropped down. It dropped down to 2.2%, 2.1%. So that's where we are at. But the target was actually by the year 2020 and until the year 2020, we should be at 3.7. But we are not there. And you can see here the blueprint outlines 5 strategic thrusts. What are the 5 strategic thrusts? The talent, technology, incentive structure, business environment, productivity mindset. This one you can get this Malaysia product. If you want to read further, you want to understand further, you would be able to download this from the web, yeah, MPC web. You would be able to go through this. It's very interesting what the government is trying to do as far as talent, technology, incentive structure, business environment, and also productivity mindset. So what has been said also in this report, Malaysia's growth predominantly input driven. So it's not good, yeah, input driven versus the productivity driven. So so this has been, the input driven is basically the injection of the capital and labor, yeah. So input driven is getting costly. It's costly to sustain, yeah. You can keep on injecting labor and also capital is costly. Okay. So every unit of input injected to the economy yielding less GDP growth if you were to depend on this, yeah, capital and also labor. So it's critical to move from input driven input driven. We need to move to productivity driven to achieve a more sustainable economic growth. Yeah. To look further on the analysis, this is you could see the higher labor productivity, or rather the labor productivity comparing with the wages. Yeah, it has been said that higher labor productivity is often accompanied by higher wages, which is true. But that doesn't mean that by increasing the wage and the productivity will go higher. You don't read it like that. Yeah. In this case, you could see Malaysia, where Malaysia is. Yeah, the average monthly wages is in yellow diamond, and also the productivity annual GDP per employed person is in the purple bar graph, comparing to other countries. Okay, you'll see this better, yeah, in this slide. The slide on the left is saying that the real wage growth has outpaced productivity growth in recent years. What does that mean? You can see the one in purple line, purple curve, 1.6, negative 0.9, 3.7, 3.5, 3.5, 3.8. That is the productivity rate per worker. So it has been increasing, minimally increasing, but the growth is there. Still is 3.7 and 3.8 and stuff like that. But if you see at the wage per worker, the wage has been reducing. You can see from 2013, which is the percentage was 6% annual change and has dropped down to 3.6 in 2017. So this shows that the growth in salary versus the growth in productivity doesn't jive. It's going the other way around. I'm not suggesting that you take this graph and show it to your boss and ask for a raise. But what I'm showing here is basically the graph is showing that the productivity growth and also the real wage growth is going in what do you call opposite direction. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at the best overall productivity for 2020. I don't know whether you'll be surprised, but Qatar, the country of Qatar is rated, ranked as the best overall productivity, the best for 2020. And what Qatar has done, this, what do you call, they came up with Qatar National Vision 2030. This is basically long-term economic development strategy to improve the economic productivity, to expand their training, improve education access and quality, enhance scientific research. If you look at this, they are similar, not in many ways, but there are similarities between the Qatar National Vision 2030 and also Malaysia Productivity Blueprint. So Qatar focus on human development, social development, economic development, and also environmental development. If you can see, you can access this through the website as well. So the recommendation is, having done all that study, the recommendation is basically in the MPB. This is what I get. I accept out from the MPB. The 5 key strategic thrusts that form the basis of each recommendation to raise productivity and address the common challenges. Yeah. So number 1 is building workforce of the future by restructuring workforce, by raising the number of high-skilled workers and also tightening entry of low-skilled workers. This is talking about foreign labor. Yeah. So we tighten the foreign labor entry and at the same time raising the number of high-skilled workers of our country, to meet the demand of future economy. Driving digitalization and innovation, strengthening the readiness of enterprises to effectively adopt and exploit technology and digital advantage. One of them is the IR 4.0, in the fourth industrial revolution. And then number 3, making industry accountable for the productivity. So reducing the reliance on non-critical subsidies, linking financial. So this is talking about the financial as well. Linking financial assistance and liberalization effort to produce, to productivity outcome, and strengthening industry positioning in higher value add segment of the value chain. Okay, next, number 4, forging a robust ecosystem. This is addressing regulatory constraint and develop a robust accountability system to ensure effective implementation of the regulatory reviews. This is what MPC is doing very diligently. Number 5, securing a strong implementation mechanism. You can have the plan. If the plan is not being implemented and you cannot execute the plan, you can have the best plan in the world, but it's going to be amounted to nothing. So I have recommendation later on in in the conclusion section. I'll share that with you. This is basically embedding culture of productivity through nationwide movement and driving accountability in productivity performance through effective governance mechanism. So these are the 5 key strategic thrusts to address the challenges, the 5 challenges that I mentioned earlier. Talking about the recommendation in the MPB, you can see the immediate priorities that will significantly move the barometer of productivity. There are 6 immediate priorities. One, I'm not going to read in all of them. I just want to share that with you. You need more detail. You can access this in the website. You just type Malaysia Productivity Blueprint. You can get access to that. You can even download and read at your own leisure time. I'm just going to go through this briefly so that we all understand what are the immediate priorities that is being done by the government. Yeah, restructure and improve the management of foreign workers. Again, I mentioned about foreign workers. You have seen that earlier. Many graphs that was published by Bank Negara study. Yeah. So restructure and improve the management of foreign workers. Number 2, actively encourage adoption of 4th industrial revolution technologies by companies and across main economic sectors. Yeah. And then number 3, strengthen digitalization among SMEs through e-commerce and adoption of innovative technology. Number 4, embed productivity targets for enterprises into disbursement processes for new grants, incentives, and soft loan. Yeah. So that is the financial part of it. Remove non-tariff measures that impede business growth and improve efficiency of the logistics sector. That's another one. Evolve government or rather governance model to drive game-changing implementation of Malaysia Productivity Blueprint. So those are the immediate priorities by the government. So just to put this a bit on to summarize this, foreign worker policy changes in the early 2000 in the 8th Malaysia Plan, effort to rein in its dependence on foreign workers has begun. Yeah, in the 11th Malaysia Plan, it was greater clarity and a renewed focus as far as foreign worker policy is concerned. So that's why you could see the what do you call the reduction, steady decline on the foreign workers. So in 2013 it was 16%, that is dropped by about 50%, yeah? Or rather 25% to 12 percentage point in 2017. So the end objective basically ensure foreign worker management system in Malaysia is clearly articulated, firmly implemented, and more aligned to our economic objective. Yeah. So we need a clear stance on the role of low-skilled workers in Malaysia, and gradual implementation and clear communication of policies, market-driven demand management instrument, fair treatment, of course, fair treatment of foreign workers, and effective monitoring enforcement system. Okay, there's some recommendation here. The ceiling quota for the foreign workers in the different industry like restaurant, agriculture, by using in the restaurant number of chairs, agriculture by hectares and stuff like that. This is from Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, the other one, as far as the overall implementation of the Malaysia Productivity Blueprint, so there must be a holistic approach towards unlocking the potential of productivity of the nation by addressing productivity challenges at all levels, national level, sector level, and also even at enterprise level. Shift from primarily government-driven initiative at national level to targeted action across industry players and individual enterprise with industry champions identified to role model. This has been done, yeah, to role model change and ensure buy-in across stakeholders. So MPC to be made, okay, I put this in, MPC to be made a driver with authority. If I could bold that up, I would, I could actually, but I didn't. But MPC to be made a driver with authority to plan. The capital word, driver with capital D, authority with capital A, yeah, to plan, coordinate, and monitor all productivity initiatives as outlined in Malaysia Productivity Blueprint. MPB has come out since 2017, and we need an agency, or maybe I put in inverted commas, commissioner, the commissioning agency MPC could be put in that position to plan, coordinate, and monitor, and especially drive this to make it more effective and more efficient. The other one is recommendation is on real and also financial reform. You have seen Korea. I think Malaysia is doing this, but probably it could be more what do you call major reform, that can spur the productivity growth. So in conclusion, let me check the time. So now it's 11 o'clock. I'm coming to the end of it, in the next maybe 5 to 10 minutes. I just want to give you the conclusion here. As far as the overall productivity is concerned, business and also the government both can increase productivity of workers by direct investing in or creating incentive for increases in technology and human or physical capital. There are a number of ways that government and private sectors can improve productivity, and they are in the physical capital by investing into it to increase the investment in the capital goods, including, of course, infrastructure and stuff like that. So hopefully by doing so, this will help to lower down the cost of doing business. Definitely quality of education and training. You can see this also in Qatar Vision 2030 for their nation, focusing on this, offering opportunities for workers to upgrade the skill, offering education and training at an affordable cost, help raise corporations and also economic productivity. Of course, technological progress, developing new technologies, hard technology like computerization, robotics, and even soft skill like the modes of organized business and stuff like that. Go on with the conclusion. Definitely, the effective implementation of MPB initiative. I want to reiterate this about MPC as an agency can be made and should be made a driver with authority to plan, coordinate, and monitor. And of course, the holistic transformation and all that. Real and financial sector implement targeted and interlocking reform to encourage technology transfer, facilitate structural change, and stuff like that. So that's all I have as far as the overall productivity. What I've covered is basically the factors that drive productivity, the analysis that has been done in a bit more detail, the recommendations. You have seen also the detailed study of the foreign labor, how that affect adversely on the Malaysia overall productivity, and you could see the recommendation and the conclusion. With that, I pass back the what do you call the floor to Mr. Lawrence. Maybe there are questions from the floor that I could answer. If I cannot answer, I'll try to find an answer for you. So if the question is technical in nature, I wouldn't be able to, I might not be able to answer. If it's pertaining to going deeper in how the calculation is done, the formula, and the stuff like that. But I'll try to answer if you have any question. Back to you, Lawrence.
Okay, thank you, Riwayat. That's very comprehensive and very persuasive presentation you have over there.
Thank you.
I'm just looking at the, thank you. I'm just looking at the question panel. There's nothing yet coming in. So I just would like to alert the audience. I think they are probably immersed in your presentation so far. It's very rich in content, like you said. Your facts and evidence on the past performance of our labor overall productivity in Malaysia. So I think, audience, if you have any questions or thoughts, I think you are still digesting. So am I. please send in a question or thoughts or comments for us. While waiting for the audience to perhaps digest and share questions or thoughts, maybe we can interact a bit in Riwayat on the presentation.
Sure.
It's taking you quite some time to get all those facts and figures. A lot of figures that points to our past performance. There are certain things that certainly surprises me. Like for example, you shared the low-skilled foreign workers that contributed, to the drop in productivity. Certainly, we have been relying on skilled workers or low-skilled workers, like you put it, from foreign resources for too long. The thing about this is that if I look at the chart just now, I think the industries that are affected in productivity drop, I think mainly is in agriculture, manufacturing, construction. There's one finance services over there, but it's probably not as much if we compare to the construction and manufacturing sectors. The drop in productivity is not as much in the finance services. Our construction sector is already shrinking, I think, in Malaysia compared to, let's say, services sectors. I think we still rely a lot on foreign workers in the service sectors. Does your recommendation in the reform in the management of the foreign workers include service sectors? I'm not sure if we are ready to reduce foreign, workers in the service sectors. What do you think about that?
Yeah, in the service sectors, they're quite a fair share of the foreign labor in the service sectors. Yeah. But there could be mixed. They could be mixed between low skill and also the high skill foreign labor. If you're talking about, let's talk about the call center, for example. If you're talking about call center, these are semi-skilled to higher skill level. They are not lower skill, where we just pay them based on the hard labor. Yeah. So that's why you can see, as far as the services is concerned, even though it's lower than the information and communication and also the oil and gas and stuff like that, but they're still higher. The productivity level is still higher than the agriculture, where this is a hard labor work, the construction and also manufacturing. This is just a pure labor, the extensive labor content. So that's why they are at the what do you call a lower end of the productivity level.
Okay, so I think since the GDP is also including outputs from knowledge workers as well, so I think your recommendation is more targeted to the so-called below medium skill or low skill workers. All right. The other thing that is interesting about your sharing is that you talk about different drivers, not only the workers or laborers. You also touch on other drivers, like for example the capital. We have in terms of say, for example, I think you're referring to the facilities and tools and equipments that we have for the workers to work in, capital that we need to invest in. You also talk about technology that can enable the workers to produce probably more value-added stuff. Like for example, you talk about digitalization, you talk about industry 4.0. You also alerted us that some of these factors, even though they drive productivity, but they are based on inputs. If we invest too much, it will erode GDP. So there's like a double-edged sword. If you invest too much in, let's say, capital investment, you will reduce our savings, for example, because savings is part of GDP calculation. So among these factors that you talk about, which seem to be the biggest driver that Malaysia has to focus on? if we're gonna rank them, which of these technology, capital, talent, human capital, which should be the biggest that we should prioritize? So many things to do. MPC will be having a
Yeah,
big headache.
true. Okay. The one thing for sure, there are three main drivers here. One is for the overall productivity. One is capital. The other one is multi-factor or multi-factor productivity. The other one is labor productivity. Yeah. If the first focus is definitely to increase the MFP. Okay. Like capital and labor, the more you inject into the economy, the more expensive it becomes, and to a certain point, it's just like it's going to be a point of diminishing return. So the higher you put in, and maybe the productivity is going lower and lower. The one that we focus on is basically the MFP. This is where I mentioned about the using the use of technology. Yeah, technology here not necessarily means that you have to put in more and more capital. This basically based on the innovation, based on the creativity that you have, use that for the productivity gain. Of course, the organizational management, how you manage the organization. Yeah, this is not only on the human resource part of it, is in the overall the way that how you manage your logistics, how you manage your all your energy, how you all these kind of things are definitely is going to give a positive what do you call effect to your productivity. And the other thing is human capital development. These are the focus. It is already mentioned in the recommendation and also the conclusion afterward. But you are right in asking which one do you want to really focus on, because we cannot boil the ocean. We cannot solve world hunger, boil the ocean and stuff like that. People say that. So the first thing is that labor, a cheap foreign labor. Pardon me for saying cheap. What I meant is inexpensive foreign labor. We know that is giving you an adverse effect in the productivity. So that got to be focused. Even though that's 20%, but that is 20% that's relatively easier to solve. Yeah. So you want to reduce that. At the same time, you want to look at MFP. This is where you want to focus actually. Like I just mentioned, on the technology, on the innovation, on the management of the organization and stuff like that. You focus on that. You need capital, but you shouldn't be using capital as the only mean for you to increase productivity, because like I mentioned earlier, this is expensive. Is in the long run is not really sustainable. So to me, labor more like a low hanging fruit that we can work on, we can prioritize on that, and the other one is on the MFP, looking into the industry 4.0 stuff like that, just to assist the organization, be it in the government, business. They are alike. So these are the two that you can focus on, Lawrence.
Okay, thank you for your view. I think you are using a very good set of criteria to help MPC, low-hanging fruits, to tackle the low percentage of the worker proportion. Yep. MFP, I think that's what your priority is. But I think you mentioned on the cost of investing in technology is going to be expensive. But I think you are probably hitting on something over here, because even though the technology cost is going to be more in the long run, you're saying it's not probably sustainable. I have a different view. I think you're hitting on something, because the technology is what we talk about. I mean, the countries who are ahead of us, they are also putting emphasis on technology, digitalization, automation. The returns of the innovation that you're going to get, I think those are immense. The returns from the technology, even if we invest in it, after all, Malaysians, if you ask people to be innovative, they say, well, what is the incentive? So I think we do have to pour in some kind of incentive to spur technology growth, so that people want to, jump onto the bandwagon, to create something, to upgrade, for example. But the return, I think the return is going to outweigh what we're going to put in the mid to long run. So even though expensive to start with, I think it could be sustainable in the long run if we manage it properly.
True, but we don't want to mixed around between the capital and also MFP as far as technology is concerned.
I see.
Technology doesn't mean it's only capital. You can use
Mm.
your mobile phone just to manage your organization in terms of your financial, your sales, your profitability, and stuff like that. And that doesn't cost you much. That is where I think we should focus on. Yeah, capital is, like I said, is still required, but capital is expensive. That's why it's called capital. You know, the
Yeah.
capital expenditure is something that's expensive and for equipment and stuff like that. But sometimes this capital not necessarily means new technology. You can inject them to produce more parts. But the thing is that it's just like labor. You keep on adding labor to produce more parts, but the productivity doesn't necessarily commensurate with the amount of the capital, the amount of investment that injected in. But I agree with you that we should spend. There should be investment as far as technology is concerned, but in the long run, definitely it's gonna payback to you. But however, it's not really capital, but it's technology is something different. So I agree. We invest in technology for the long run. We just want to reap back the benefit of the investment that we put in. So that's why they are categorized into three main factors: capital, MFP, and also labor. Capital, you can keep on adding capital. Labor, you can keep on adding labor, but doesn't mean that productivity is going to be getting better and better. But MFP is where you should focus on. That is where the technology is. There are a lot more things that doesn't fall into capital, doesn't fall into labor, that is going to fall into MFP. Some people even call MFP a TFP, total factor productivity. But well, this is the area that we should focus on. We should invest. I agree with you. We invest in technology so that we can reap the benefit later on. Yeah, Lawrence, I fully.
Thank you. I think this is a very interesting thing that we have to learn. The MFP area actually is something that we should look at. Yeah, like you said, the idea is not just to keep on pumping human capital or whatever. But I think we also have to look at the output, the value add from the productivity of Malaysia. So I think by looking at just this indicator alone, it's probably hard to contrast. You're roughly spot on when you link it to other areas. You're going to talk about labor productivity this Thursday. So I think the audience will have probably a fuller picture when you share the other side of the story, how the other indicators are linked to this overall productivity. It doesn't stand alone over here. It has to work with the existence of the other things like human capital, for example. I believe we also have talks on that by other presenters.
Right.
Again, I still don't see any question coming in. I think the audience probably are overwhelmed by what you.
I hope I don't confuse the audience. I know it's too much of this, like too much data and graphs and stuff like that. But I try to make it simple so that you could see. I have deciphered this and just to make it more, people can comprehend this better. But without this data and graph and stuff like that, it's just like it's going to be just like a talk, and it's hard to see. And with this data, it's easier for us to relate to what we are trying to do going forward. So I hope I don't confuse the people. I hope I don't confuse you, Lawrence.
No. I think you have made your case clearer. I think with your presentation, I think we all learned something from you. Um,
Thank you.
it's funny, when you related, one of the particular graph that says, don't interpret like, the more you work, the more wages you're gonna get. Don't show this to your boss, to ask for a raise. Um, we are all like that. We probably um, have not paid enough attention to this national indicator. People work. I think they have many reasons to work, to sustain their family. So if you ask any individual, probably the first thing that comes to mind about producing, being productive. Uh, how many of us are actually thinking about national indicator like this to contribute to the overall productivity? Most of, well, I'm talking about the people I know. We have ends to meet in our daily lives. So to just put it into the national context like this, maybe we have to be exposed to more of this kind of sharing for us to be more sensitive about what we do. Like the pandemic now, a lot of people are out of job. I'm sure in the following year, our productivity is going to be affected a lot. The unemployment
Definitely.
rate,
Definitely.
the labor market, even
You
though
can
there are
see
people
already
who are
now. Yeah.
already,
You can see now already
yeah,
it's being affected. Yeah.
now it's already affected. So people probably have a more acute things to meet, like to being survived, rather than to care about the national productivity. So maybe if there's no question, we can come to conclude this. So perhaps to the audience today, yeah, probably more than 10 I can see on the panel over here who are listening to you. Do you have any takeaway for the audience today? What responsibility of the mass?
So say that again. I was distracted by by the phone ringing. Okay.
No
Sorry, Lawrence.
problem. What is the last message before I conclude this
Oh,
to
okay.
the audience today? Last takeaway from you.
Okay. I think productivity is not the job of the government or just the job of the your bosses in their organization. Yeah, it's job of everyone. We all should focus on productivity. Because when I'll be talking about the labor productivity later on. This is talking about the wealth of the population, the economy, the people of the country, and so this affecting all of us. Yeah. So we should be focusing on productivity, and we should all stay productive. So that would be my last word. I just borrow the MPC. All MPC always say this: let's be productive and stay productive. Yeah. So that's all I have, Lawrence. I just thank the audience, and I would like to thank you for being a very polished moderator. It's easy to work with a moderator like this, and I just want to thank the audience and definitely MPC for giving the opportunity for me to share this bit of information. Hopefully, this is meaningful to you. It give you some insight about Malaysia's productivity. And with that, I just want to say thank you to all. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Teacher Riwayat. That is very enlightening. Well, definitely, this is not your last word. We're going to hear from you again.
God willing. God
Yeah,
willing.
yes, definitely. Um, Once again, thank you for joining us today. To all the audience who have spent the time to listen to this presentation. This is our 40th in the webinar series. So for those of you who have missed any of the past presentation by other speakers, MPC has created a channel in YouTube. You can catch up with those past presentation. The YouTube channel is called Productivity and Competitiveness Channel MPC. You'll find many videos over there. With that, let's close this webinar. Thank you again, Riwayat. I'll see you again on Thursday.
Thank you.
Until then, stay safe during this CMCO. Happy listening, happy learning. It's time for us to sign off. All right. See you again in the future with Minasi Race.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.